I think conferences like this are vitally important because it's how you share information.
Travel industry is unique in many ways in terms of our propensity to crisis.
The first and most important thing is the impact that tourism overall is having on global economies.
Being prepared to respond to terrorism attacks is really important. Travellers worldwide really feel comfortable. They deserve to feel secure as far as travel is concerned.
It's at this type of event that we get to see how the industry comes together and plans initiatives.
When you actually prepare for the worst case scenario, do you find your clients open to that?
You find people very open and supportive, so there's never enough support in time of such needs.
Conferences like these provide an opportunity to look at best practices, to see what has been done and what we can draw from it.
There's not going to be a new disaster. It's just new people learning old lessons. And the best way to learn lessons isn't to read it in a book or in an email. It's to talk to your peers and find out what worked for them.
Well, I think risk management is a very critical subject. At the end of the day, this is, this talks about human and this talks about what's happening to them and how can we help.
So who's on your team? What are their roles? What are the processes to make that happen? Then, whether you're starting afresh or coming into a situation is what will your processes be? And who else are you going to tap?
Collaboration is absolutely critical in crisis management when it's actually happening, in preparedness and in the aftermath when we're trying to rebuild brands and trying to rebuild business.
Well, what I tell people, I've been to 2 events that have killed 250,000 people in my lifetime. And it's not for me a matter of if. The only thing I don't know is when, where, and who. And so if I was responsible for planning for my company, if I was a CEO, if I was a board member, legal, public relations, I would want to know that if it happens, I'm prepared, because you don't get a second chance.
The media is 24/7, so you need to be rapid response, over-communicate if necessary rather than under-communicate, and be consistent.
Travelers are very vulnerable when it comes to cyber incidents and cyber threats. It's a stressful situation when we're traveling. We have to get to somewhere very quickly. We don't necessarily have a lot of protection with us. And from a company perspective, companies that are providing traveling services, it's also a very stressful situation. They might have to deal with emerging crises that also cyber criminals are using as lures to actually do cyber operations as well.
Find out if they could tell themselves something before they were involved in an incident, what that would have been, so that if you're the new person, you can take that piece of wisdom back to your corporation and implement change.
Everyone can take something back to their own organisation.
Well, I'm really delighted with the way that the day went. We had a lot of people there in the room, about twice as many as last year, and I think we started a dialogue which hopefully we'll be able to continue and build on.
My big takeaways, I think, are really about some of the technology that's coming out in order to support the industry.
There's a lack of knowledge in the industry, but there's also a way of how the industry have been doing business for a long time, and this needs to change in order to address the cybersecurity incidents and also the cybersecurity threats of the future.
Things move, technology changes, and I think it's always interesting to stay one step ahead.
A conference like this, I think, helps us to have a stronger structure. From this, I believe we can have a best practice documentation that goes to the world.
It's always important, I think, to bring the outside in when you're in an industry.
How do we anticipate, how do we mitigate, and how do we respond fast, quickly, and restore?
This is a really important topic and one that's not going to go away.
Travel and tourism is a force for good. Bringing people together, getting people to understand each other better is always beneficial for humanity.
It was a great honor for me to attend the event and also speak about cyber threats, because I think this is an area that is still relatively unknown and relatively new for the industry.
You don't get a second chance. In the middle of the night, that holiday weekend, when you get the telephone call, there's been an earthquake or tsunami or a terrorist attack or a fire, it's too late to start planning. You need to do that ahead of time, and you do it by learning from others who've been there.
Events like these bring ideas and people together, and that combination is powerful to create action. And so I believe that I would encourage for next year even a greater attendance, because I do believe that the more ideas that contend is the greater the options for action.